Best. So Seth, go ahead and read Dr. Linda's um, bio for us, and then we'll let Heather tell us a little bit about herself and get into today's presentation.
Sure will. Dr. Linda Sterling is the founder and CEO of Sterling Sport Mindset, a sport psychology private practice specializing in mental performance for athletes. Dr. Sterling and staff help athletes bring their best performance to every performance in sport and life. Dr. Sterling played collegiate softball while earning a bachelor's in psychology and sociology. She holds 2 graduate degrees, a PhD in sport psychology, and a master's in counseling psychology. Dr. Sterling had a 13-year career as a university professor where she developed and directed a sport and exercise psychology master's program, conducted research, and mentored college students and student athletes. She has earned certified mental performance consultant status through the Association for Applied Sport Psychology, which is the gold standard for applied sport psychology professionals. Dr. Sterling is passionate about helping athletes be their best on and off the field. Please welcome Dr. Linda Sterling.
And Heather Rivera. So thank you, Seth. That was perfect. Very good. And Miss Heather, please introduce yourself. The screen is able to be shared if you have a PowerPoint with us for today. Feel free to ask the participants to participate. We can enable them to unmute themselves and participate, or we can have them type in the chat, however you prefer. But go ahead, Heather, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm filling in for Dr. Linda Sterling today, but my name is Heather Rivera. I am a mental performance consultant on the Sterling Sport Mindset team. And kind of like her bio said, we specialize in helping athletes improve their mental game by providing sports psychology skills and just really to bring out their full potential. So a little bit about my background. I was a collegiate soccer player and I pretty much played sports my entire life. I would say throughout my playing career, I probably struggled with things like confidence and composure, things like that. And I never got the opportunity to work with a mental performance consultant. So I didn't really know how to navigate those things. And then during my college career, I was studying psychology and I discovered sports psychology. And I knew like that was the field I wanted to be in. So I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in psychology and then going on to get my master's degree in sport and exercise psychology. And that has led me to here as a mental performance consultant with Sterling Sport Mindset. So I will start out with just kind of going over what sports psychology is. And if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and shout out at me or whatever you need to do. What is sports psychology? Essentially, sports psychology is looking into the minds of athletes and teaching them mental skills that will allow them to reach their full potential and ultimately improve their physical performance by learning these mental skills. I kind of view it as like we provide them with this mental skills toolbox. So whenever they're facing something, they can go into that toolbox and pull out whatever skill they need to help them overcome whatever they're going through. So things that we cover are like goal setting, confidence, concentration, composure, mindfulness, motivation, And then we also, help athletes work through relationship issues, whether it be with a coach, a parent, sibling. We help them cope with injuries, whether it's, dealing with an injury they just got or returning to sport after an injury. We help them balance school and life and sport, because I know it can oftentimes be a lot. And we also help with the transition from whether it be high school to college or college to pro, whatever that is, we definitely help with that transition. So the one thing that I love about sports psychology is while it is focused on athletes and performers and helping them improve the way they play, all of these skills can be applied outside of sport. And that's another thing that we really try and focus on, is how to apply these skills not only as an athlete, but also in life. Like goal setting, you can use in every area of your life. So we really emphasize that in our practice. So with that being said, there's definitely a lot of myths about sports psychology. A lot of people say like, well, you're either born with mental toughness or you're not. Well, that's not true. All of these mental skills can be learned and improved. If it's just like in sport, when you have a new skill, you're not going to be the best at it right away, but as you practice, you're going to get better. And it's the same with all these mental skills. The more you practice them, the better you will be at them. Another is that sports psychology is a quick fix. So sometimes someone will come to me and say, I have trouble keeping composed during a game, and they want a tip and they want it to be fixed overnight. Well, that's not really the case. Kind of like I said, it has to be practiced, and then you'll see the gradual improvement as you continue to practice. Another one is that using a sports psychology consultant means that you have a problem. And that's not true either. I mean, so many professional athletes use sports psychology consultants just because they know that this will help them reach their full potential and get them to that next level. So it's not just if, you're going through something, this can be beneficial no matter where you're at in your athletic career. Perfect. Does anybody have any questions so far? Figure I'd do a little check-in.
I haven't seen anything in the chat yet, and your mics are enabled, so feel free to unmute yourselves.
Sounds good. Okay. So I am going to share my screen, and I'm going to go through a few of the mental skills that we teach athletes. Again, it's like those skills that we put in their toolbox, and they're going to be skills that you can use before a game or a match, during a match, and then after a match. So let me share my screen. Okay, can everyone see it?
Yep,
Yeah.
we see,
Okay.
yes, it looks like a PDF.
Yes, okay,
Perfect.
perfect. I'm just gonna scroll through as we go along.
Perfect.
So the first skill we're going to talk about is imagery. A lot of people refer to this as visualization. I like to call it imagery, and essentially imagery is going to be, you will visualize your success in either an upcoming competition or in maybe if you're trying to learn a new skill, you're going to visualize yourself successfully performing that skill. So for example, if you are a gymnast and you're trying to learn a new flip, you might use imagery to mentally rehearse performing that flip in your mind before you actually go out and do it. Or if you're a baseball player and you're a pitcher, you could use imagery to mentally rehearse how you're going to pitch for an entire game, like the exact pitches you'll throw, how successful you'll be, and you'll really want to take yourself through every detail of what that competition will entail. So in order to do imagery, you want to find a quiet place, just close your eyes and mentally take yourself through that performance. So if it's, you rehearsing an entire game, you're going to arrive at the venue, go through your warm-up, and then the start of the game, then you'll do the actual, go through the performance, what highlights you have, what you're doing well, and then end it with you performing, the best game you ever had. And you want to keep it positive and in the present tense, and you want to include as much detail. So who's there? What do you smell? What do you see? How does your jersey feel on you? What are you wearing? You can think of, maybe you taste something, taste some Gatorade, whatever it is, you want to include as much detail as you can. And also try and think of a time when you had like your best performance as a guide for that, because you want it to be a successful performance that you're visualizing, not like mistakes. You don't want to include mistakes or anything like that. It's only the positives that you're including in that. Perfect. And then also with imagery, like the same thing goes for if you're trying to rehearse a new skill. You also want to include all the details, the way you feel and everything throughout that visualization process. Okay, so next is self-talk. And self-talk is huge, not only in sport, but in life. I mean, the things you tell yourself affect the way you feel and the way you act. There's a quote, and I love it, and it's, what you think you become, because the thoughts that you're telling yourself are ultimately going to lead to the actions you take. So, if you notice that your thoughts are primarily negative, you want to write all those down, get them all out. We call it a thought download is what we call it. And you just want to write down all the worries, fears, concerns that you have and really look at them, and kind of, one, it helps to get them all out, and then two, it helps to look at them and kind of look and see, well, this is kind of irrational, right? And another thing is, when you're looking at your thoughts, is when you're performing, are you telling yourself like, don't miss when you're taking a shot, or don't strike out when you're at bat, things like that? Because once you start thinking in that way, you are in the negative, right? You're more likely to miss, to strike out, because that's what you've put in your head, rather than, I'm going to make this shot, or I'm going to hit the ball, which is much more positive. And when you have that thought in your head, you're going to be more likely to actually do that action. So one thing that I tell my athletes to do is to give themselves a pre-game pep talk. So, go into your game feeling positive and feeling pumped up. Emphasize the things that you're good at, things that you want to bring to that game. And also include like a motivating phrase or quote, something that's going to get you pumped up and feeling confident going into the game, rather than thinking about all the doubts and fears. So if you do notice that, your thoughts are more in the negative, what we teach is recognize and replace. So essentially, recognize and replace is recognizing the negative thought and then replacing it with a positive. So in this example here, it says the negative thought is, I'm a failure. And then you change it to the positive, which is, I'm a record breaker. And just reading that, you can tell it's so much more positive, so much more uplifting when you think in that positive. But sometimes getting from that negative to the positive is hard because you don't believe the positive, because you've been telling yourself that negative thought so much that the negative thought is ingrained in your mind. So what we have athletes do is shift it to a neutral thought. And a neutral thought is going to be something that really you can't argue. It's just true, it's a fact, and it's there so that you believe it. And it's not going to be a negative, it might not be a positive yet, but the neutral thought gets you out of that negative mindset. So in this example, we have the negative thought is I'm a failure, to the neutral thought, which is I'm an athlete, which can't argue that you're an athlete. And then eventually, as you practice the neutral thought, you build your confidence and you feel better, you will get to that positive thought, which is I'm a record breaker. And this is so huge. I mean, I can't tell you how many athletes get stuck in that negative thought and they don't know how to shift it. And like I said, I mean, when you get stuck in the negative, it's going to take over, and you're going to tell yourself I'm a failure, and then what do? You fail, right? You lose, you make a mistake. And so just being able to shift that thought and recognize when you're in the negative is really, really, really powerful. Okay. Does anybody have any questions yet? Are we good? Okay.
Looks like we're good. I don't see anything in chat yet, and mics are enabled, so feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question if you'd like.
Perfect. Awesome. So these next couple skills are going to be used generally like when you're warming up pre-game right before the match. So the first one is the green to gold zone. The green zone is going to be everything leading up to your game. So how you feel going into the game, and you want to make sure you feel relaxed, loose. You don't want to be too anxious, and you want to be confident, right? And then the gold zone is game time, like right when that whistle blows or whatever it is, that's when you need to be in the gold zone. And that is, you're locked in. Nothing else matters except the game and your role as an athlete. So you're able to block out distractions, you're able to focus on the game plan, and there's nothing else on your mind other than whatever your game plan is. There's a video that I love to be an example as the gold zone of Kobe Bryant, and he's in a game, he's on the bench, and sitting next to him is this comedian, and he's trying to tell jokes to Kobe in the middle of a game, and Kobe's just like locked in, nothing's gonna bother him because he's in that gold zone, and nothing's gonna get in when he's in that gold zone. So the trick is finding how you get from the green to gold zone. How do you flip that switch to be in game mode and where nothing else is going to bother you as you are in the gold zone? So it can be, when the whistle blows and then you make a shift. It could be in the huddle before a game, whatever it is, finding that moment where you're going to flip the switch and switch from green to gold is huge. Perfect. Next is a routine. So a routine can be used in a few different ways depending on your sport. So a routine has 3 parts, and you're going to take a deep breath as you do it. First, it starts with a physical, so a physical action you take. Visual, a place to focus your eyes for a moment, and then mental, a go-to phrase you say to yourself. So I like to use like basketball when you're doing a free throw. You know, you see athletes have a routine when they're taking a free throw, whether it be the physical would be like maybe they dribble the ball twice and then they look at the hoop and then they tell themselves like, I'm going to make it, or this is a bucket, whatever it is, they have that routine and it's set. The example here is a baseball player, right, or a softball player, where they bring the bat in front of them, look at the E on your bat, and say ready before every at bat. In a sport like, let's say, soccer or hockey, where it's fast moving and you don't have a whole lot of time to maybe do a routine, you could do it before the match, right? Whether it's before the whistle blows, do something like that you can create that's a physical, visual, and mental representation of a routine before the match to get your mind ready and in the zone. Okay. Next is the zone of optimal functioning. And it sounds really fancy, but essentially it's just like your hype level, the level you need to be at to perform your best. And it's going to be different for every athlete. Some athletes need to be really calm, some really need to be like super hyped up, and some need to be kind of in the middle. So the way I like to kind of describe it is like, if you need to be really calm, you're kind of in the corner, not talking to anyone, maybe doing a meditation before the game to just prepare yourself. If you need to be like really hyped up before a match, then you're, you know, got your earbuds in, blasting music, dancing around, like that's your hype level. And then if you're in between that, obviously maybe music, but you're still kind of calm, right? And kind of figuring out which zone is yours. It is important, because if you need to be at the calm zone, but you go in at the hype zone, you're going to be really anxious and you're going to be, you know, probably have some performance anxiety going in and not perform at that optimal level, because you actually need to be in the calm zone rather than that super hyped up one. So yeah, just testing it out, seeing what works for you is really, really big. Perfect. Okay. So these next couple are going to be things that you can use during a game. So first is looking at things that are in or out of your control. I have a lot of athletes that come to me and they're really focused on things that are out of their control, whether it be, you know, the field sucks, the weather's terrible, the refs made a bad call, their teammate made a mistake and they're frustrated, or their coach is yelling at them. All of those things are out of their control. And when you focus on those things that are out of your control, it takes you away from the present moment, and it takes you away from focusing on the game and what you can do, because you're so busy thinking about everything that's out of your control. So the flip side is some of the things that are in your control are, you know, how you perform, the attitude you bring to the game, how you react to, you know, certain situations, the mindset you have, whether you're thinking positive or negative, whether you're encouraging your teammates or, you know, yelling at them. Those are things in your control. And so when you find yourself focusing on things that are out of your control, you can use a refocus routine. And it's kind of similar to the routine we had just talked about, but it's really short, really simple, and it just gets you to, whether it's a mistake you need to forget about, gets you to just let it go and then refocus on the game and what is in your control. So, for example, here it's, you know, say you made a mistake in a game, you could wipe away an error by rubbing your hands on your shorts and then saying clear to yourself. Another one I like to do is, you know, like tugging on your jersey and saying flush, like flush it down the toilet, it's gone, right? And that just helps you to mentally move on and quickly refocus on whatever it is that you need to be doing within the match at that point. Another thing is, in a game, you're usually going to have high anxiety, right? Especially when the pressure's on. You know, you see those soccer games where it's a penalty kick, game's on the line, and that person kicking the ball has so much pressure on them. One of my favorite skills is just breathing. Deep breathing is huge. And this one here is called box breathing, and you're going to inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold it. And just do that like 4 or 5 times, and you just instantly feel the tension release, and you just feel so much calmer, and you're able to kind of calm those racing thoughts that are going on in your head. And I mean, breathing, while it's super important in sport, right, it can be used in any area of your life. You know, if you're about to take a test and you're really nervous, taking a few deep breaths is so helpful. Just taking the time to slow down and breathe is always beneficial. And there's a lot of apps that we suggest to athletes to use, like Headspace or Calm, and it takes you through those guided breathing meditations so that you can kind of calm and ease all those nerves that you may feel. All right. Lastly, we have the post-game self-interview. So this is what you want to do after a game. And this is really important, especially when you maybe didn't have the performance you wanted, didn't get the result you wanted, maybe you got injured in a game, whatever it is. If you're really upset, taking the time to reflect after a game is huge. And in that reflection, you want to look at how was your performance, what worked, what didn't, what would you have done differently, and then just review your thoughts that you had throughout the game. Were you primarily negative to yourself? Were you doubting yourself, doubting your teammates, you know, and writing all that down, record it, and writing down things that maybe you want to improve or things that you learned. So that way you have a record of where you're at and where you want to be, and you know how to get there because you've set this essentially a goal to improve, right? And then obviously just relax after a game. Taking some time to take a few deep breaths, stretch, relax, and take some time to pause and just refocus your mind. Maybe you have a tournament and you need to take a little break in between the games. Like, take the time to relax so that you can reset. Perfect. I know that was a lot of information. So does anybody have any questions at all?
Thank you so much, Heather. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for a great presentation.
Yeah.
For the audience, feel free to unmute your mics. We still have 15 minutes, so ask questions. Go ahead, Tyler. I see your hand raised.
I played 2 basketball teams. I played Separate County Thundercat basketball team. My coaches is Coach Mad. My other basketball team is on a Honor basketball team at Wichita State. Well, when I play my basketball, sometimes during my game time, I get a lot of stress. A lot of my opponent, when the ball come down, roll down the field, like when I look the ball coming down the field, I run for it, and my coach says, well, one opponent coach told me to say, why you run down in there? And I told the other coach to say, you know what, coach? You're not in charge of me. You're not my team. And say, Coach Matt told me before halftime, like, take a break. And my coach says, Coach Matt say, I'm so proud of you. You're going run down the court, grab the ball. And yeah, it's a lot of stress and said, okay, why I missed 3, missed 2 pointer in the basket. And I talked to myself, like maybe somewhere in quiet place, I said, okay, what I need to work on, what I need to fix. And then during my next game, I get figure this out. What's my game plan? It's giving me a lot of stress. Like, I know the opponents like to get your mind in your brain and said, they want to block you, you know? It's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, that is a lot of stress for sure. One thing that I always suggest when athletes are feeling a lot of stress is utilizing that deep breathing and meditation. You know, in between your games or before a game, do like a 10-minute meditation if you can. And you can always find a guided meditation online or in an app. And that way, you'll kind of relieve some of that stress, and within your meditation you'll look at some of those things that are stressing you out, and you'll go in with a much more clear head and just feel a lot better. I know that meditation sometimes is hard at first because you're like, well, I'm supposed to calm my mind, but I still have so many thoughts. But that's okay, because if you continue to practice it, you will get better at it, and you'll feel some of that stress release as you continue to practice.
So like if I keep practicing, like if I'm gonna go back, like watch NBA basketball, I can watch pro basketball players said, okay, what I need to learn from the pro, come back until next season, I can work this out.
Yeah, and that goes with some of that imagery I talked about too. Like when you're looking at the NBA pros playing, like imagine yourself that you're them playing that, right? And that's a form of imagery when you can imagine yourself playing like the NBA pros play. So that's awesome.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Very good. We have a question in the chat which says, is it possible to get a copy of your PDF or your Google Doc?
Absolutely. I can send it. I just don't know which email to send it to, and it can get out.
Dr. Linda Sterling, email me that document, and then we can send out an email blast to all of our attendees.
Perfect. I will get that sent over to her then.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Becca, I see your hand raised.
I got a question, like for powerlifting. When I do powerlifting, even before when I sit on the bench for doing bench press, I breathe in and breathe out like 2 times and tell myself, I can do it. I can do it. And then I lay on my back, and it feels like, I can do it, but sometimes it's hard for me to push up sometimes. Do you have any suggestions for that? Or even in squat, like going down, like putting your butt on the ground? Well, not on the ground, but like go low. And I watch the Olympics when they do that, and so.
Yeah, I think well, first of all, that's awesome that you go into it and you're saying, I can do this, I can do this, right? But when it starts to get hard, if you're telling yourself like, oh, maybe I can't do it, or if you start to doubt yourself, catch that and just continue to believe like, I can do this, I can do this. And just make sure that you're continuing to stay positive even when things get tough, right? When it gets hard, continue to have that positive mindset, because it's easy to go into it with a positive mindset, but when things get hard or when you feel like maybe I can't, still having that positive mindset and having that belief in yourself is super important in those moments.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, is there any other questions out there? I see some people say that they have been using the Calm app. Heather, are you familiar with the Calm app? Have you?
I am, yes. I use both the Calm app and the Headspace app. Both are really, really great. One thing I love about the Calm app is it has like also playlists of just like calming music. Sometimes I'll just play some calming music when I need some time to chill. But yeah, both are really great, and they both have free meditations available on them.
Very good.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions from the audience?
I install Calm app on my phone now. See if that can work for me, like if I do bowling, basketball, or track, see if that can help me.
Yeah, awesome. And continue to practice it. And then over time, you'll definitely get a lot better and, feel the tension release out as you continue to practice.
Okay, I will.
Perfect.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions? I see a hand raised from Kathy.
Thank you for so many great reminders. It's easy as a parent or coach to get impatient or, kind of caught up. So I think this is good for us to also use.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, sports psychology is amazing because it's not only applicable for athletes, but it's applicable for everyone in all areas of their life. So, whether you're needing confidence in life or needing to relieve stress in life, these skills are still applicable whether you're an athlete or not. So, yeah.
Heather, I have a question for you. Do you have any favorite quotes from Dr. Linda Sterling that she tells athletes?
Yes. One of my favorite quotes from Dr. Linda Sterling is, "My capacity to win is limitless." And I tell that to myself all the time, because my capacity to win is limitless. Your capacity to win is limitless. So don't put limits on yourself, because you don't even know what you can achieve. So that's definitely one of my favorite quotes from her.
Very good. Let's see. We have a comment in the chat that says, "These are a lot of great techniques that you have shared with us today. I would like to suggest that these techniques can also apply to life challenges in general, a new job, a new project, a personal challenge, etc." So sounds like you guys do a lot of life coaching as well.
Yeah. Even though I work with athletes, some days, I'll have someone come to me and they just want to talk to me about what's going on in school, or they're frustrated with a parent or sibling. And, it's important that they know that all of these skills aren't just, for sport, that it's really to help them, in their life and reach their goals, whatever it may be. So that's really what I emphasize when I'm working with clients.
Very good. Thank you. And then, yes, Alicia, we will be getting those copies and materials from our speakers, and I will be able to email those to you guys probably on Monday when we get back to the office. So I'll be collecting those this weekend and sending those out on Monday. So you're welcome. Okay.
Awesome.
Any last thoughts, comments, questions from the audience before we go ahead and close? Time for one more, if so. And if not, that is okay. We had a lot of great questions, a lot of great discussion. Thank you so much, Heather, for filling in for Dr. Linda Sterling today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to speak in front of you all. And I will send that PDF so y'all can get it for yourselves.
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much. Alrighty,
Yeah.
so that
Thank
is
you.
going to conclude our session on pregame to podium mindset. Thank you all for hanging out with us this afternoon. You've all just been entered for the door prize, the Xbox One X, and then we are going to move into our next session, which will be What Makes You Healthy with Luz Conde, and that will be at 2 o'clock. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to Chris and for our door prize winner this afternoon.
Thank you again, Heather, for joining us today, and thanks everyone for being with us. Kathy Henderson is our door prize winner. Kathy, Maria will be in touch with you to get you all set up there. And as Jesse said, everyone that was here got another ticket into the sweepstakes, which we'll do by end of day Tuesday. Just give you a timeline on that. Maria and I will connect on Monday, get that drawing done. Yeah, Luz is next. I've known Luz since I've been with Special Olympics Kansas. She's been our health promotions clinical director. She's amazing, and look forward to her session. And then I'll sign off for now.
Sounds good. Grab a snack, use the restroom, get some water, and we will see you guys at 2 o'clock. And Heather, feel free to stick around if you'd like. We'll see you guys.